moneyness of an option. You may well have noticed in our discussions around options, they are littered with new financial terminology that we need to become aware of. So now we're going to talk about the moneyness. Let's look at some call options. Remember, if the current share price, if the share price is trading at 100, and that is where you strike your price, the premium will be determined on your right to buy at 100. And let's say this is struck at a 5% premium. Now it's important to understand that not every strike has the same premium. More expensive strikes are going to be more expensive. If we take this back to our car analogy that we used right up at the front introducing options, well, let's think of them as insurance. If you're insuring your car, the premium that you're going to be charged is going to be a lot more for the red Ferrari than it will be for the white Beetle. So let's consider the same with call options. If you have the rights to buy and you now pick a strike lower than the current market, or better, or more expensive, expect the premium to go up. If you price it cheaper, your call strike in this example at 200, well then the premium will be relatively cheaper. We talk about these strikes with relation to the current market as their moneyness. And the call option struck at 50, we talk about an in-the-money call option. The call option struck higher than the current market at 200, well, we call this an out-the-money option. And the one struck at a price exactly the same as the market is an at-the-money. Right, so let's look at the moneyness of a put strike. Remember, a put option gives you the rights to sell. So if the current market is 100, now an expensive strike would be 200. If you want to buy the rights to sell higher than the market, expect your premium to be more. If you wanted cheaper or lower than the current market, expect your premium to be cheaper or less. Now, the put option struck at 100 is still the at-the-money option, whereas the put option struck at 50 is now an out-the-money, and the put option struck at 200 is now an in-the-money. Now, moneyness, as we've just described, related to the date that you set the contract and the strike that you picked for your contract relative to that forward market. But moneyness of options changes all the time. Obviously, the market moves, and as it does, your strike's value will move. For example, if the market in a month's time is higher than 100 on your call option, it'll be an in-the-money option. As the market trends towards your strike, it will be considered an at-the-money. And by the time the market closes much lower than your strike, well, your strike will now be considered an out-the-money strike. When will you exercise your strike? Well, are you going to exercise when the market is higher than the call? Absolutely. You're going to exercise your strike if it is in the money and if it is showing intrinsic value. If by exercise date your call strike is out the money, well, it's implying that the market itself is better than your strike and you're not likely to exercise at all. The moneyness or value of your strike at exercise is nicely summarized in this table. Let's have a look. The call will be exercised if it is in the money, ITM, and this will happen if the spot rate is above the strike. A put will also be exercised if it is in the money, but remember this happens when the spot is below the strike. Neither of the options will be exercised if you hold them and they are out the money at expiry. I hope you've enjoyed this section on moneyness and getting to know options a little bit better.